Welcome back to the Old Photo Vault channel. Coffin pose. Unknown military outpost, 1944. The photo shows three soldiers joking around a dug-up coffin, but the man lying inside, identified later as Private Lewis Hart, looks a little too still for a staged picture. At the time, they thought the skull balanced above him was just battlefield debris. Yet its jaw appears slightly open in each printed copy, as if caught mid-whisper. After the picture was taken, Lewis told his unit he kept hearing someone breathing under the soil at night. The others brushed it off until he started waking up with dirt under his nails. One morning, he vanished from his bunk, leaving only his boots, filled with damp grave earth. The two soldiers beside him in the photo died within the year, each insisting they saw Lewis standing beside their beds. And in the album where this image is stored, the coffin lid looks a little higher each time someone opens the page. Hidden face on the bed. Suburban house, 1998. The Polaroid shows Anna Lowell adjusting a lace garter on her childhood bed, though she never noticed the faint face forming in the shadows among her stuffed animals. Later, when her cousin developed the photo, that face seemed clearer. Two deep sockets and a thin, crooked mouth that didn't match any toy. Anna began waking at night, certain someone was sitting close, the mattress dipping just slightly. Her mother found all the toys turned away from the bed, as if refusing to look at something. Over time, the face in the photo sharpened, gaining the suggestion of a brow, then a jaw. Anna moved out years later, but the picture stayed behind. And in every new scan, the face seems to tilt, watching whoever holds it now. The Faded Visitor. Victorian parlor, 1896. The photograph shows a woman named Eleanor Marsh sitting in her crowded parlor, surrounded by framed portraits and trinkets she claimed brought her comfort. Only after the plate was developed did her family notice the pale figure standing behind the glass cabinet, blurred, upright, and positioned exactly where no one had been. Eleanor had complained for months that someone lingered in the room whenever she sat alone, always just out of reach. Guests reported hearing a second set of footsteps following her across the carpet. As the photo aged, the ghostly figure sharpened slightly, its head tilting in each print as if listening. When Eleanor died, the parlor was emptied, but the cabinet glass kept its cloudy handprint. And in every reproduction, the figure appears a little closer to her chair. The woman by the piano. Parlor room, 1903. The photograph shows Clara Whitmore collapsing into the arms of her maid, though no one could later explain why the rocking chair beside the piano was caught tilted mid-motion with no one near it. Clara had been complaining for weeks that someone stood behind her whenever she played, pressing a cold hand between her shoulders until she couldn't breathe. The family thought it nerves, until the maid admitted she, too, had heard a low humming coming from the empty chair at night. When the photo was developed, the curtains behind Clara appeared slightly parted, as though someone had just stepped away. Each copy of the image shows the chair angled a little differently, and in the latest scan, a hand seems to rest lightly on its back. The driver in the thicket. Woods outside Millerton, 1931. The photograph shows an abandoned roadster sinking into the underbrush, its metal long since eaten by rain and vines. But standing just behind the frame, half swallowed by the green, is a faint figure shaped like a man, leaning forward as if still gripping a wheel. Locals remembered a driver named Samuel Pike, who vanished on a stormy night. His car never recovered, though people claimed to hear a horn echoing from the forest for years. Hikers sometimes reported seeing a man stepping out onto the path, then dissolving as they called to him. When this image was captured, the camera had been motion-triggered. No one was nearby. And in every later upload, the driver's outline grows a little sharper, as though he's turning toward the lens. The Ceiling Watcher. Abandoned hospital kitchen, 1974. The photograph shows a ruined prep room, its tiles stained by decades of rain leaking through the broken roof. But above the sink, between the rusted pipes. A pale face peers down, round, childlike, and unmistakably present in every version of the image. Workers once whispered about a boy named Daniel Ross, who went missing during a renovation and was believed to have run away. Afterward, staff reported hearing soft tapping from the vents, like someone crawling, too small and too slow. When the hospital closed, scavengers claimed something watched them from the ceiling shadows. In this photo, the streaks on the wall seem to lead upward toward the opening. And in newer scans, the face appears a little lower, as if inching out from the pipes. The face in the wall. Abandoned living room, 1962. The photograph shows a forgotten sitting room, its wallpaper buckled and peeling after years of damp. But on the left wall, a faint human face seems to press outward through the plaster. Eyes half open, mouth just beginning to form a word. Neighbors once spoke of a tenant named Mr. Harrow who barricaded himself inside, convinced someone lived between the walls, and whispered to him at night. After his disappearance, visitors claimed to hear soft knocking from within the house, as if asking to be let out. The television in the corner was found still warm when the building was finally condemned, though no electricity had run through it in decades. In every later exposure of this photograph, the face sharpens, and in the most recent one, the lips look slightly parted, as though finally answering back. The Stranger in the Dark, School Outing Grounds, 2007. The photo shows a cheerful group of friends posing at night. But in the darkness just behind them, a pale face appears. Too tall, too still, and not belonging to anyone who was there. Later, the girl in the white hijab, Hannah, said she felt someone standing close enough to warm the back of her neck, though everyone insisted no one else was around. A few of them recalled hearing leaves crunching behind them right before the camera flashed, as if someone had stepped forward and then stopped. When they checked other pictures from the same night, the background figures seemed to shift positions, growing clearer in each frame. None of the students recognized the face. And in the latest digital copy, its eyes look directly at the lens, as though finally aware it has been seen. The light on the asphalt. State Highway 17, 1958. The photograph shows troopers investigating a late evening crash. The crumpled sedan still warm, and a sheet already pulled over the victim on the road. But hovering above the covered body is a soft, oval glow. Too bright for a reflection, and too stationary to be a camera error. Officer Raymond Keene later admitted he felt a sudden pressure on his shoulder while leaning into the car, as if someone were trying to pull him back. Witnesses swore they saw a figure standing beside the sheet just before the flash went off, though no one else was present. In the archived negatives, that glow seems shaped like a face tilted toward the wreckage. And in every restored copy, it drifts closer to the trooper, as if trying to speak to the one man who could still hear it. The figure in the tree, Old Harper Estate, 1983. The photograph shows the abandoned mansion of the Harper family, a place locals avoided after the last heir vanished without a trace. But in the branches of the front oak, a pale figure clings to the bark, its outline blurred yet upright, as though watching the photographer from above. Neighbors once spoke of Lydia Harper, who climbed that very tree as a child and refused to come down, claiming a woman lived in the trunk and whispered secrets only children could hear. After Lydia disappeared, people passing the estate reported seeing someone shifting among the branches long after dark. In this image, the figure's head is tilted, almost curious, and in every enhanced version, its arms seem longer than human, stretching just a little farther toward the ground. The Watcher Above the Bar, Abandoned Roadside Diner, 1991. The photograph shows the gutted remains of a once busy diner, its stools rusted in place and the counter rotted to splinters. But near the ceiling, where the tiles have collapsed, a face seems to peer down through the broken grid. Long, narrow eyes and a pale ridge of a nose, watching the empty room. Old employees whispered about a drifter named Carl Dent, who lived in the crawl space for weeks, slipping down only after closing to steal scraps. When he vanished, the staff heard dragging sounds overhead, like someone refusing to leave. Years later, trespassers claimed they felt breath on their necks while standing near the bar. In this photo, the face's outline is faint but unmistakable, and with every brightened edit, its expression sharpens, as though impatient for someone to sit down again. The face in the door, State Prison Execution Room, 1924. The photograph shows a condemned man strapped into the electric chair, blindfolded and waiting for the warden's final order. But on the wooden door behind him, a blurred face seems to push through the grain, its features pale and slack, as if pressed from the other side. Guards later admitted they heard knocking on that door moments before each execution, always soft, always 3 times. Some claimed it was the spirit of Thomas Wade, a former inmate who died begging for the door to be opened because he swore someone was trapped inside the wall. After this picture was taken, the man in the chair reportedly turned his head slightly beneath the blindfold, whispering that someone was standing behind him. In every archived print, the face in the door appears clearer, its mouth slowly opening, as though trying to speak for those who never got a last word. The twins in the ruined clinic. County Hospital outbuilding, 1988. I took this photograph on a dare, stepping into the collapsed clinic even though the air felt wrong the moment I crossed the threshold. The 2 girls, twins, or so I thought, were already perched on the overturned examination table, staring at me like they'd been waiting. I told myself they were models, squatters, anything ordinary, but neither of them blinked while I focused the lens. Only later did I notice the pale face forming on the far wall, features smooth and cold like someone pressing forward through paint. I swear I never saw it while I was standing there. And when the flash went off, both girls smiled at the same time, like they'd finally been acknowledged. I left in a hurry, but sometimes I think I hear footsteps behind me. 2 sets, then a third, trailing just a little farther back. The Lady at the Christmas Tree, Whitcomb House, 1892. The photograph shows a parlor dressed for Christmas. Candles lined neatly on the tree and every ribbon arranged with gentle, practiced hands. Only later did the family notice the woman's figure, half transparent, reaching toward an ornament as though finishing a task she'd begun long before the picture was taken. Margaret Whitcomb had died the previous winter, known for insisting the tree be decorated exactly the same every year, never trusting anyone else to do it. On the night this photo was made, servants recalled hearing the soft rustle of skirts crossing the room, though no one else was inside. The portrait above her seems to watch her, the husband she left behind. And in each renewed print, Margaret's hand drifts a little closer to the candle flame, as if she means to adjust it just once more. The Whisper Above My Head, Private Snapshot, 2014. I took this picture just to send my daughter, a harmless update so she'd stop worrying about me living alone. I didn't notice anything strange until she called that night, her voice small, asking who the woman behind me was. When I zoomed in, I saw it, a pale face blooming out of the darkness above my head, mouth open as if finishing a sentence I hadn't heard. I tried to laugh it off, but all evening I kept feeling a faint stirring in my hair, like someone leaning close to speak. The house was terribly quiet, too quiet, and when I checked the photo again before bed, the figure seemed lower, almost touching my shoulder, as though she'd been waiting for me to finally look. The Girl on the Bench, State Sanatorium Corridor, 1965. The photograph shows a young patient sitting on a wooden bench, wrapped in a thin robe, her smile small but genuine as she looks down at her hands. Only after development did nurses notice the pale figure bending forward behind her, its blurred face tilted as if whispering into her ear. Staff had long whispered about a former patient who roamed the halls after lights out, known only as the Listener. said to kneel beside the lonely ones and murmur to them in the dark. The girl had been improving, talking more, laughing even, until the morning after this picture was taken, when she refused to speak at all. In later enlargements, the figure's outline tightens, more intent, and in the brightest scan, its mouth seems to brush her hair, caught in the middle of a word she never repeated. The Carousel in the Rain, Riverside Square, 1954. The photograph shows an empty carousel halted in a downpour, its wooden seats dripping as the storm blurs the edges of everything around it. Only after printing did the photographer notice the faint figure running past. So transparent, the rain seems to fall straight through its chest. Locals remembered a boy named Henri, who vanished one summer evening after slipping away to ride the carousel alone. Last seen darting between the stools as the clouds broke open. For years afterward, shopkeepers claimed they saw someone sprinting through the square whenever it rained, though no footsteps followed. In the darker corners of this image, the carousel chains look lifted, tugged by a weight not there. And in every enhanced version, the running figure grows a little more solid, always heading back toward the ride he never finished. The Field of Helmets, Forgotten Battlefield Memorial, 1979. I took this photograph on a quiet afternoon, thinking the place would feel like any other war memorial. Somber, still, predictable. Rows of old helmets sat perched on weathered posts, each one rusted through, each one facing the same direction as if waiting for inspection. I didn't notice anything unusual until I developed the film. On the front helmet, the metal curved around what looked unmistakably like a face, smiling faintly, like someone pleased to have been acknowledged after years of silence. I went back the next day, hoping it was just a trick of light, but the helmet seemed turned slightly toward where I'd stood before. The air felt colder then, as though someone had stepped up beside me, and when I looked through my camera again, I could swear another helmet had begun to change, another face just starting to surface. The Sisters in the Yard, Abandoned Foster House, 1938. The photograph shows the crumbling foster house sinking into the weeds, its windows warped like tired eyes, watching the path below. Only after the print dried did anyone notice the two figures standing in the yard. Two girls, side by side, their shapes faint but aligned like sisters holding hands. Locals once spoke of the Carter sisters, who vanished during a harsh winter, last seen running toward the house after dark. Children in town said they heard giggling near the doorway, then footsteps that stopped too suddenly. In this image, the older girl's face seems turned toward the camera, while the younger one gazes at the broken door. And in every restored version, the sisters' shadows grow sharper, always standing together, as if still waiting for someone to finally let them in. The Woman in the Studio, Fairhurst Portrait Rooms, 1901. The photograph shows a lady seated stiffly in an ornate studio, her gloved hands resting just so on the carved arms of the chair. The backdrop behind her, meant to mimic a soft painted sky, holds something else instead. A face emerging through the misted canvas, its features blurred as though pressing forward from the other side. The photographer, Mr. Fairhurst, later swore the room had turned cold the moment the shutter clicked, though no window was open. The woman herself reported hearing someone walking behind the backdrop, slow and deliberate, despite the studio's solid wall. In each surviving print, the hidden face appears a little closer to the center, its eyes sharpening with every restoration. And in the latest scan, it seems to be looking, not at her, but directly at whoever dares to look back. And that brings us to the end of tonight's collection. Images that should have been ordinary, yet somehow revealed more than anyone expected. Each photograph lifts the veil just a little further, as if something on the other side is slowly learning how to be seen. If you felt a shift in the room while watching, you probably weren't imagining it. Thank you for staying until the end. If you'd like me to uncover even stranger photos, Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. And tell me in the comments, what did you notice in these images that others might have missed? I'll see you in the next video, where we open another door that maybe should have stayed closed.